Folks, welcome back to the iHealthRadio. I had the iHealth channel. This is Hurricane Age. This is the time of the month that we've been missing for the last few months due to multiple reasons. This is Climb to Your Prime with Dr. Heim, the one and the only, right now with us live all the way from, well, it's not the land down under, it's beyond that. It's Tasmania. So it's a little bit further south from there. uh, Doctor, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you very much, Hurricane. Look, we're about as far south as we can get before we hit penguins, all right? Uh, but, but it's just great to be back with you. It's good to see your smiling face again. It's good to have this show. It's good to be back on track because we need those things that are on track in a world that seems to be just a little bit off track at the moment, Hurricane.
Oh, well, we're gonna talk about all that today. And so, folks, if you're watching, right now, we're live on YouTube, on Instagram, and this is your live Q&A. We do have questions, and this is a monthly, I guess, event date, whatever you want to call it, that you should be listening to and watching, and just taking advantage of, because having Dr. Ham with us is a great asset, in terms of information that can help us. And mental health, I think, is just part of who we are, and we need it more than anything. I think sometimes mental health is more important than physical health, and then I guess they both have a certain weight in life, but mental health can actually have very much damaging impact if you're not there 100%, because your body can also suffer and vice versa. But really, with all the circumstances and things that are happening around the world, as Dr. Heim just stated, we do need a lot of that. So I am happy always to have Dr. Heim with us on this one. And we were just before the show, I was just talking to Dr. Heim about how this stuff helps me, especially in the events and things that are going on around the world right now. So Dr. Heim, are we ready for a lot of lively questions today?
Yes, we're ready, Hurricane. And actually, you've already touched upon some of the things that we're going to talk about. The idea of the physical and the mental is that connection that we all have, that external events, so the physical, has a big impact on our mental state. So what goes on inside our head. So the physical body and the mind are connected, just like external events are connected to what goes on inside our head.
Well, listen, I grew up with that idea, by the way. Like when I was a kid, like healthy mind, healthy body, all together combined. It's what makes us. And but I do have to say this: as I got older, yeah, you can certainly control easier the body. You can have good nutrients, and work out and all the stuff. It's one thing, but I think the mental health aspect is more of a burden, I think, on all of us, because it's the stuff we don't understand sometimes, and we just kind of go through the motions of things, and it does impact us in a lot of ways. And and there are a lot of factors that are just beyond us, and I think that's the problem. And then, of course, there's our own personal, I guess, biases and who we are, our upbringing, all the stuff kind of
Yes.
compact itself into one thing, and therefore we sometimes either deal with things properly, or sometimes we don't. And like Aloha, you said, like I'm having a smile. We haven't, you haven't seen me since last year, literally. But and with everything that's going on, a big move and all kind of things happening around the world, it's like we can't catch a break sometimes, and that's what it is. But you know what? We have to be resilient, and that's how I look at it. And it is something that you've given as an advice many times over in a lot of the shows. Yeah, well, thank you, Doc. I mean, for just reiterating the idea of the mental uh,
Yes.
importance here. So it is time for mental health. And by the way, folks, again, this is a live Q&A. Chime in. You can put your comments. We'll bring them on the screen, or send them to us. And actually, I'm going to be starting a little bit of a new thing where I might be asking some people in the street, and I got that from a friend. And I think that would be like, maybe we'll get some real, walk-in questions from you guys out there going forward as we resume, our new season. And I think this is our season 6. So, Dr. Heim, we've been doing this since COVID, right? So it's been a minute.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing that we're going into 6 years. That's absolutely fantastic. And that's a testimony to what the need is out there, Hurricane, but also to what we have to offer and what your show has to offer.
Well, thank you, Doc, and again, your dedication to this is great. And by the way, Dr. Heim is all over the world. He's doing a lot of work, not just on this show. So do catch him. I mean, whenever I get a chance to, when I see his stuff on Instagram, social media, I try to replay that and connect you guys with him. But he's available. Do connect with him. phenomenal work. Him and his lovely wife, Dr. Caroline Heim, also with us, I think, on the feed in the background here. So, uh, it is to her. And so now we're going to get started with the first question, folks. So, all right, so this is straight to the war. No, I mean it's very clear we live in an era now that there's quite a bit of wars going on, and there's a big one that's impacting the whole world. And today, the first question we have here that I selected is about that. So it's two parts. I'm gonna just read it here. So, Dr. Heim, with everything happening globally right now, the financial impact is obvious, but I feel like the mental and emotional toll is even deeper. From your perspective, what is the true psychological impact of war and global instability on people, even those who are not directly involved? Steve, Brooklyn.
Thank you very much for the question, Steve. So the question is actually, what is the impact of the world as it is at the moment, basically on everybody? And Steve, it's a big question, but the answer that I'm going to give is it undermines our belief in constancy, in stability. So not only have we gone through an era of a lot of change in the last couple of decades, during that change, things were constant. We could still trust that our society was moving forward in a positive way. That trust has gone. And so it's like we can't quite trust what's going to happen tomorrow. And in that context, our sense of self means, how constant are we going to be in a world that's not only changing, but we can't take for granted will actually be there the way that we would like it to be in the future? And psychologically, as you pointed out, Steve, this affects us emotionally and mentally far beyond how it affects us financially or logically in the world. We humans are amazingly adaptable. We will amazingly adapt to adversary that's going on. We will take in our stride the financial things. We will take in our stride some of the political instability. But when we see that our actual thinking and our emotions are being challenged on a day-to-day basis, that calls for another level of dealing with things entirely. So today on the show, we'll be talking a lot more about what we can control and what we can't control. And we'll be talking about responding rather than reacting. We'll also be talking about those little rituals that you have on a day-to-day basis that you do every day that will remind you of your constancy, that you can trust that from day in, day out, if I have a meal and if I can do it the same way every day, then I am being constant and mentally and emotionally true to myself.
Oh, that's a good start, Doc. So well, here's the thing, right? So, it's funny because I think 2 years ago, we had a question that's similar. That when the war between Russia and Ukraine
Yeah.
began, and we've talked about some. I mean, you, Doctor, have given some good insights on how to cope with it. There. Now, for me, at that point, it was just a show host talking about this, bringing in the information, but not experiencing it. So I have to say, it's one thing to speak about it from one end, and another is to be in the middle of it. And it's not a secret. I'm in Dubai now, and for the last couple of months, and we here for a business venture and a lifestyle, change, if you want to call it that way. But we didn't expect this to happen, and we're just in the middle of all this. And it's an interesting thing because, like I've seen it, literally just evolve from just an idea of maybe there's a war that's going to take place to a real war to really like being in the middle of it and seeing the engagement. And it's pretty quite heavy when, and so I have to say, like, no one can actually feel it as much as if you are in the middle of it, because when we see these videos and people are living in under those circumstances, sometimes we feel like bad for them and things like that, but really it's more intense when you're part of it. Now here's the good news. I mean, I have to say, as much as it sounds like it is a war going on here, I just, this is a quick thing, not political, but I do feel safe, and I've stated this before. It's just the way they'd handle it here in terms of the UAE, but nevertheless, we've seen a lot of concern from people, and some people just ran away. I mean, I would say, I mean, that just as bluntly as how I put it. I mean, I guess, you have fear, and a doctor, you can address that with us, like, what is that? Why people do that? I mean, it feels pretty safe. I mean, we barely have an actual direct impact, visually and things like that. But people still know it's happening and it exists. I mean, yeah, it's always in the back of your mind. I mean, right now, I mean, we're having the show. I'm live. Nothing's going on, and but we do know there's something going on. That's the thing. Like, you don't know, every day's a new day. You wake up, what's cooking, what's happening. I mean, is there going to be something, a new development? And there's always stuff. Now you hear the news, it's doomsday. I mean, I have to say this, and that's the other thing that I think that we need to be conscious about, is that what you see, what you hear is not really what's happening 100%, because there's a lot of factors that play in this. And there's that fear, instilling, and there's a war, right? So you have the saying that says war is a deception. So we have all that stuff that we know of, in terms of just strategy. But from the public, from us as just individuals living lives, it is hard. And doctor, you just said something about how you deal with it on a day-to-day basis when you wake up and you kind of adjust to things. It is. So I'm living that. So I'm literally, sharing this as a person with my family here. I mean, the first day when this happened, we were like, my wife's like, "What are we doing?" We're like, "We're not doing anything." We're like, we're here. We're not going anywhere. There's no reason for us to panic. I mean, that's one big word, and panic is sometimes a dangerous thing. I mean, I've always learned not to panic in general because of my training in martial arts, and I've learned more with Dr. Heim as to how to navigate these things, these feelings. But it is difficult, and so we have kids, so you have to be concerned about kids and stuff like the mental state and all that. But we're coping well, and I think a lot of people are coping well. And I have to say, like I said, if you look at social media, there's one group that is pushing against the agenda of like, oh my God, the UAE is doomed, the Middle East is over, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a whole bunch of us that are just saying, okay, we're having a good life. It's peachy, we're coping, nice, thank you, government, thank you, defense systems, all the stuff is happening. So it's very interesting how the dynamics of this. So doctor, just as I was talking here, like, what are you saying? What are you seeing through what I just said right now? Because I know you have a different way of analyzing these things, and you understand it better from how we work as a psyche. So tell us what I just covered here. Am I in the right page here? I'm the right, frequency. Tell me your version of the explanation here.
Okay, but I've got to preface what I say, Hurricane, from we just talked about how you are in the middle of this. In fact, you're in a town where the airport was under attack. Okay, things are falling from the sky. There have been attacks, and there has been a loss of life in the town that you're in, thanks to the war that's going along. Me, I just let you know that I'm pretty close to penguins. All right, I'm on an island where it's about as far away as it can be, and the reason that I say that is because it is very different to talk about things and to be experiencing things themselves. Okay. So, but wherever you are, there will be somebody who's experiencing more. There are people that are living in Tehran at the moment, in the Ukraine, in all sorts of different places that not only have it tougher, but they actually experience things far more closely than any of us. And in that situation, it really comes down to having the rituals that you have on a day-to-day basis. You still need to sleep. You still need to eat. You still need to interact with the people that you love close to you, no matter what happens. And it's those things that are seemingly little, that can make all the difference. So there's an image that I want to take people back to, because a lot of people have seen the film Titanic. And there's a very touching moment when one of the passengers, not knowing what's going to happen to the ship the next day, if it's going to be there or not, just goes on with the ritual of putting her children to sleep. And the child just goes to sleep, and she just goes through the rituals, says the things that she would normally say, do the things that she would normally do, because that is the reality right in that moment. And that is the best thing to do in the reality in that moment, no matter what's happening all around. And so our choices have to become, what is our reality inside our heads as far as our thoughts and our feelings, and to make choices that see that the constancy of each moment, who you're talking to, what you're eating, enjoying a breath of air, or enjoying a blue sky, that those moments get savored more and more. And that's actually very, very good for our mental health.
Well, thank you, Doc. And by the way, I, this is exactly how we're coping with it. I mean, it's life is as usual. You wake up and do your routine. Go to the gym. We go out. We meet with people. We go eat. I mean, we know it's happening. I mean, we get alarms. And not alarms. There's no sirens or anything. It's just we get a little text. Hey, maybe there's some action going on, and we take the right measures. But so the people that are in charge, they're doing their part. But as you said, Doc, not everybody has the same. I mean, to your point, I mean, the guys on the other side of the strait, from here, they're not having a good time with all the stuff that's coming from the U.S. There's the economics. I mean, right now are just bad everywhere. So there's that impact, and kind of the question started with that. People are feeling some of that more, I think, than the actual fear for life, because there's the uncertainty, like food, water, power. I mean, we hear about all these things around the world right now where water is going to be. I mean, not water, but energy is going to have to be saved because the cost of oil is higher. So there's like people are afraid of a lot of things, maybe not just the debt factor or like being harmed, but really just financially not being able to meet their daily expectations and just ends meet. I mean, it's a very interesting place because there's uncertainty. People may lose their jobs, people stuff, and there are a lot of reassuring messages out there, to help people, and guide them to really just be calm and just move out about your life normal. And frankly, I started to admire, the way it's being handled, at least in where I am today. Because to your point, yes, had there been scares, or like do we hear some action? Of course we hear it. I mean, it's not constant, but every now and then you get a little alert, and you hear some boom in the sky, or but they're intercepting things and doing stuff. Some at the airports did get hit, a couple of them. Some locations actually I happen to be in an area where we're away from all that stuff, but we do kind of hear it from a distance. But it's real, and we are everywhere, so we are not stopping our lives. And I think that's for me and the family, that's what we do. I mean, we're just going to keep doing. We trust that the authorities are going to do their job, and they're doing more than their job. Actually, I think they're doing terrific. But really, it's the mental piece, and it's not just. I mean, I think the people. I mean, 2 days ago I was at a beach with the family, and frankly, it was Saturday. I mean, the beach was packed. People are playing, hanging out. The everything is packed. I mean, the water is people in the water, people running, skating, volleyball. I mean, going about their life normal. There's no. If you actually were there, folks. I mean, and for those of you that are not local here in UAE, you would just be like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, there's nothing going on there, because I think that's the whole thing. People are just choosing to live and to enjoy themselves and just dealing with the things day in day out. Now, as you said, Doc, maybe other people may not have the same capabilities or possibilities, but at the end of the day, you make the best of what you have at all times. That's a rule that applies to everywhere and anywhere. So thank you, Doc. Now, do we want to go to the next question, because it's kind of like it's got to be related to it, or do we have some more time?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Hurricane. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Okay, so Dr. Heim, we hear the term psychological warfare a lot in movies and in real world discussions, but what does it actually mean in practical terms? How does it show up in everyday life, and how does it affect us mentally without us even realizing it? Megan, New Jersey. So it touches on almost the same concept.
Okay, almost on the same concept, but then totally different too as well, Hurricane. So Megan's question about psychological warfare. Yes, there's a warfare element in it there, but when we're talking about psychological warfare, we're really talking about how we affect each other as human beings, and how we, to use a term, psych each other out, how we can use words and emotions and have actions that are just going to unhinge each other. And I suppose the common element, and I'm just thinking about this now, has to do with our relationship with the outside world. So let's say in the last question, what came up was, what's your relationship with the media going to be? Because if you engage too much with the media, then you'll find that that'll impinge on you pretty badly. But if you isolate from the media, then that means that you could withdraw yourself from reality and get yourself into a place where you're just not part of the human race. Same with psychological warfare, but this has more to do with how we engage with other people. And look, there are some people who think a lot about how they come across to other people, if they're pleasing other people, if other people are trying to hurt them. And then they start thinking, oh, maybe this person is using some form of psychological warfare on me. Okay. And you start off in this relationship that is a warfare type of relationship. And yet, if you isolate yourself from people so that people can't hurt you at all, then again, you'll miss out on the warmth that human beings are actually capable of. So the idea is to stay in relationship with people and stay in good relationship with people, because then psychological warfare doesn't really happen that much, because when you're in good relationship with people and you get to that feeling, hey, we're human beings together, then you don't actually want to be in warfare, particularly in a situation that we're in at the moment, where you see the destruction if we start turning on each other. And so particularly with the people that are close to you, you see how helpful you can be to each other, so that rather going into psychological warfare, you have not only psychological peace, but psychological support.
Oh man, I love that. I mean, I just hope that that's really how we all behave, because frankly, it's funny because when I hear psychological warfare, I think war, but really this is beyond war. This is something that can happen without war. It's just like,
Oh,
when
yeah.
when people just go against you and they just kind of create that psychological effect on you and kind of want to
Yeah,
destroy
yeah,
you
but I've got
mentally.
to say, Hurricane, that when I say things like that, there's a part of me that goes, oh, Christian, you're being really idealistic again, sort of love thy neighbor sort of stuff. Okay. Whereas conflict happens, unfortunately, Hurricane, even with the people that you're closest with. And it's how we handle that conflict, how we respond to each other rather than react to each other, so that we can build those bridges and do away with the warfare wherever we can.
Well, thank you. And by the way, you stated something that's powerful. By the way, I live with that rule, and even though I mentioned social media, I'm actually almost I don't even look at the news. This one. I mean, I'm not even watching anything that has to do with the news. Um, I'm not watching the social media that has. I still keep doing my thing. I'm not even looking at all the feeds, because that's the other thing with the algorithms, right? Once you start looking at one thing, and everything that feeds up is going to be on the same element. Before you know it, in an hour, you're like depressed. Your brain is about to explode, and you're not feeling good. You're down. You're stressed out. You have anxiety, and you like snap on everything. So I don't do that. I kind of keep the cool stuff in my feed. If I have to, I focus on my work and the gym, the work, I mean everything, right? But other than that, I mean, and but you're right, there is a lot of that, and I think that's really that impacts people. Like the more you see it, the more you're just going to get attracted to it. And oh my god, the world is ending. It's a doomsday scenario right now. It's like I mean, it's funny because even some social stuff like, oh, there's this is how you prepare yourself for a nuclear war or stuff. Folks, this is how I look at it. If that happens, I mean, we're doomed regardless. There's no win in those scenarios. So if you think about the worst case scenario, I mean, yes, you can prepare to a degree, but there's some things you kind of prepare for. And if it happens, there's not much you can do about it. So, might as well live. I love that example you mentioned in that movie. I do recall that scene pretty well with, she's put him to sleep, like nothing's going on, life is peachy, and that's it. Because again, you panic. What are you going to do? Your last moments, if any, in this world will be just very stressed out and not a good, place to be. You want to enjoy every moment of life, as you're living. This is actually something that when I was a kid, my uncle had this little framed, quote on the wall, and it said, "Really, live your life as you will live forever, and live for tomorrow, like if you live forever, and live for today, like you're gonna die tomorrow." It's like you. I think that's what it was. It's the concept is like you live your life like you're here eternally, but also you prepare yourself. That tomorrow may not be here, because nobody guarantees that. But so you live a happy life without stress that way, because you prepare yourself to the next life, if anything, from a religious aspect or whatever, spiritual, if you want to call it that way. But also you live your life daily, because what else are you going to do? I mean, life is going to go on, and yes, you do see some differences. in the behavior. People change. I mean, some people, like I mentioned, people are leaving or left because, oh my God, But frankly, I mean, there's a point of when you have to do some reactive stuff, but do you have to do that? That's the question. And not everyone, I think everybody's different on how they behave that way, right? So, Doc, what goes for me, maybe I'm different as a person, maybe my characters, is unique in a way. And by the way, everybody is unique on their own way. So our behaviors are different. And I know, Doc, you deal with thousands of people, and everybody is different. So what you're giving us is something that is more universal for all of us, and I think we can take that to the bank.
Yeah, and I suppose the universal thing that we're talking about here, Hurricane, is something that comes up in what we're doing here quite often, but it's knowing what you can control and what you can't control, right? So everybody will talk about the weather, but nobody can actually do anything about it, all right? The most you can do is take an umbrella if it's going to rain, all right? Or put on some sunscreen if the sun's going to be out really fiercely. But there's no point in complaining about the weather. You have to make your choices that'll give you the best day no matter what the weather is going to be. And that's actually fundamental to all of the work that I do as a psychiatrist, because we can't control things about what's going on out there in the big world, but we can control the stories we tell ourselves, the way we spend our time, the things that we say to each other, and also keeping the day-to-day things in place rather than spending time worrying about what might be in a year or so, because we can't do anything about that.
Doctor, I'm listening to you, but I love that. This is one advice that I've lived with and got reinforced since we met over and over and over. Because, and I tell that to people, like, why do we worry about things that you can't do nothing about? Like, can I stop any of this stuff? No. I mean, what am I supposed to do, right? I mean, can I live, maybe can I take some precautions? Yes. I mean, as you said, you can take the umbrella, you can hide, you can find a safe haven, you can move a little bit of the area if you want, but you can do certain things. But there are things that you can't. Let's say if I can't go anywhere, I mean, the air is shut, there's nothing, you can go, you can fly, you cannot go inland. What are you going to do now? So you have sometimes you have to be realistic on what's happening to you and your circumstances and deal with it. I mean, in martial arts, we call that survival instinct, and you have to know your environment to be able to deal with it. Like, so my professors always taught me one thing, like, you're not planning on how you're going to defend yourself. Somebody kind of creates a very dangerous situation. You just have to be aware and kind of be prepared, in practice on how to deal with it. And you handle the situation as it comes, and then you adjust and adapt to that particular time and circumstances. And that's the thing, adjusting and adaptability to events is going to happen to all of us, whether it's even in peacetime. There's other things that happen. Weather. I mean, it's funny. We just had weather. Literally last week, we had a lot of weather. I mean, typically not, coming in this area. We had tornado warnings too. So imagine, things are just changing, and you just have to deal with it. Like, that's all.
Yeah, that's right. And look, okay, so I encapsulated by saying, sort of know what you can control and what you can't, and concentrate on what you can. But Hurricane, I don't want to pretend that that's easy to do. I mean, I've been a psychiatrist most of my life, and I worry. All right. I worry about stupid things. I worry about serious things, but I deep down know that my worry is not going to change anything. So here's a little way of dealing with things. If you can do something about it, you do that. Okay. If there's somebody out there listening to this that can do anything that will alleviate war, stop the war, please go out and do it. All right. But apart from that, we all have to do what we can do, and then accept what we can't, and do our best in those situations. And it was what you were talking about, Hurricane, that the day-to-day things become more important. The people around you become more important, and just being able to respond rather than react becomes more important as well.
Well, Doctor, thank you. And the way again I look at it is tomorrow is guaranteed somehow. I mean, obviously, we might not be here, I might not be here, right? But life goes on, as we say, right? The world still, I mean, unless this is the end of the world and everything gotta be, gone. And even that, I'm sure, I do believe that there's another world out there, and we're gonna go to that next one. But at the end of the day, that's gonna continue. So whether I'm here or not, I mean, tomorrow is gonna continue. So the question is, how do I get there? How do I live today to the best, of my abilities to maximize? And by the way, doctor, you said it perfectly. Of course, uh, we all we're human. I mean, we do have that feeling, that, by the way, when I say about, how I deal with it, doesn't mean that I don't have the concern. I just block some of that negative vibe that comes to me personally, so basically, like, I qualify it, and I look at it like, am I going to be able to check this? Can I do something about it? No. Okay. So that's irrelevant, moot point. Let's move to what I can do. And that's exactly how I do it, day in, day out, in any circumstances, whether it's family matters, whether it's work. I just dealt with my mom passing a couple months back, and we dealt with that day in, day out. I didn't think about it. I just went with emotions and kind of prepared myself. I mean, someone I lived with, and I think we covered this in the last show, for 50 plus years, and all of a sudden she's gone, and it was a big gap. I still feel the gap. And, every day, actually, I think about her, and I kind of try to adjust to the idea that she's no longer here. She's with me in spirit. She's with me in my thoughts. I see her pictures. I see her in my mind. I hear her, but she's not physically here. So I cope with that. That's coping with things. And I think the more we do of that, the better we are. Now, again, I am just one of millions on this planet, or billions at this point, and it just, that's how I cope with it. Now, someone can have more difficulties dealing with these things. Again, that's why we have the help, such as Dr. Heim, to assist in guiding those things. But I think the rule that you just applied, Doctor, here is standard that we can all apply to, regardless of how we are positioned, if in a way, right?
Yeah. So knowing what you can control and what you can't control is actually a good way to look at your thoughts and to keep your thoughts in mind. But let me go to something more difficult. Let me go to emotions, because emotions seem to be things that happen to us that we can't do much about. So what are we going to do about it? So I'm going to give two techniques to take care of the two most difficult emotions that we have. One is fear, and there will be a lot of people that are feeling that at the moment. And the other one is anger. And there's a lot of people that'll be feeling that as well. And look, it's part of the experience of being human to feel fear and to feel angry. But there are two techniques that we can use for both of them. And the first one is, if you see that fear is about something that's going to happen in the future, and that anger is about something that's happened in the past that maybe shouldn't have happened, then the way to get out of fear and out of anger is to stay in this present moment, to stay right here, right now. And the way to do that is to notice what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel, what the temperature is, a butterfly going past, a new color that you haven't seen before, or a taste of some food, and you notice it and you go, that was absolutely wonderful. Because while you do that, you will be in the present moment. And in the present moment, you can't actually be fearful or angry. It's only when you start thinking about the future or the past that those emotions come up. And there's one more way to conquer fear and anger, and that's by cultivating gratitude. Just to be thankful for whatever life has given you right now, because whatever you've experienced cannot be taken away from you. It's a piece of beauty, it's a piece of pleasant pleasure, or it's a piece of well-being that you did nothing to deserve, but you got it anyway. And to be able to think about gratitude is a way out of both fear and anger. So in this world, to cultivate those two things, staying present in this present moment, and secondly, being grateful. Look, as a psychiatrist, I just got to say, they're probably the best two things that we could all cultivate.
Doc, I haven't listened to you. I think if we all take this right now to the bank and just apply it, life will be a lot easier for all of us. So if you're watching this today, it's evergreen, of course. Listen to it on radio or on the podcast. Just take it for its word, folks. I think you will change your life and how you apply. And again, I'm literally a host here, but also just I'm not patient, but I'm also just someone who's listening and absorbing from Dr. Heim. And this is the stuff that he does around the world, helping people to cope with life, and he deals with a lot of different conditions, and most of it is not nothing to do with war, it just has to do with normal life, but life sometimes can be a war to some extent for some people. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, it can, and it feels that way every day if there's a real war or not. Okay, so let's go to some psychological tools so that you can actually do that. All right, let's take the first one: living in the present moment. So there's a knack of living in the present moment, and that's a psychological tool. NACC. So the N stands for notice. Got to notice what's going on. Notice the temperature. Notice the sky. Notice some beauty. Notice things around you, because as soon as you notice, then you become aware. And when you're aware in your own mind and you're aware of your own thoughts and feelings and you can notice them, then you can choose to concentrate on things that are more helpful to your mental state. So the knack is notice, to be aware, to choose to concentrate on things that are useful for your mental state.
Thank you, Doc. And I love it. Like every time you come up with a new acronym and a new way for us to actually work with, and it changes, how, I mean, literally, like I love these things, and you have a knack for a knack.
Oh, thank you, Hurricane. That's really nice. Yeah, but okay, but the world demands it at the moment, doesn't it? We need these sort of things because it's not just let's make our lives a little bit better. No, the world's heading the wrong direction. We've got to keep our minds together. And so when you notice and you're being aware and you can choose to concentrate on what's helpful, then you're actually taking control so that you can actually respond rather than react.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much. And you're right. The world is going to keep doing what it's doing, right? People are going to be in and out. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going to happen, but there's a lot of good stuff that's happening too. And I'm going to go back to what he said earlier. One of the things is gratitude, being grateful for things, right? And I do want to literally just share something with you, Doc. So obviously this thing I'm the UAE, Dubai. So we had Ramadan. I mean, worldwide, of course, that's the month, where we all fast, as Muslims. But in there, there's a lot of activities that get done. And here's the thing. I mean, so I discovered there was this event that, a couple events that some of the folks here that have been, living in Dubai for a minute have been actually doing on this particular month and after the month, which is a charitable food, food drives and things like that. Believe it or not, even though this whole thing happened, and it happened like literally the first 2 days of the month, they never stopped these events, and they had volunteers and people, and so I want to give kudos and shout out to the two groups, the Given Family and Happy UAE. They both have dedicated to do these great, I guess, I don't know, charitable opportunities where people that are less fortunate would come and get meals, get food, and just kind of enjoy, some of the stuff that may not have on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I'm talking basic food, right? And that's a big deal. And especially and the message was first of all, it was gratitude to these people. And it continued the tradition. Like, yeah, the world may be ending, the world may be like in chaos, but we're going to continue the culture. We're going to continue the life of giving back and helping, the needy and the less unfortunate. And it was a beautiful moment. And I mean, when I went in the first time, like, okay, this is just another event. And then I'm like, no, this is a real thing. It felt what it is. The message was there. The people behind it. I mean, Fadi is one who's running, the Given Family. I mean, his message was constant and consistent with the idea that we're going to give back to the people because they're the ones who are actually doing things for us so we can have a life that we have. And it was a time of turmoil. I mean, usually in this kind of times, it's me, myself, and I. Nobody cares about the rest of the people. But that has not happened. So we have good in us, folks. We do have the drive to actually be better and we've overcome all these things. Yes, I mean, there was a day, literally, Doc, we were there and we are looking, we hear two booms and we see an actual missile, literally flying over. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing when you think about it, right? Like, you're in the action, but people are doing great stuff, in the real world, not even caring what's going on because there's a level of gratitude.
That's right. That's right, and that's so good, Hurricane, because um, the news will talk about the missiles, the bombs, but they won't talk about the Gibbons family. Okay, they don't make the news, and sometimes we lose sight of the fact that human nature has got the whole gamut. Yes, it's possible that we will go to war, but it's also possible that we will help each other out in the direst of circumstances and make sure that we're all together getting what we need. And the amazing thing, Hurricane, is the people who are doing work feel privileged to do this work because the feeling of gratitude goes both ways. It makes all of us feel good. And so, part of the thing that we have to remember is that human nature has got this wonderful quality of empathy and compassion to help each other out, even in the direst of circumstances. And you're getting to see that right there in Dubai.
Well, yeah. Well, doctor, I mean, I listen. I did not. Obviously, there's a lot of good stuff that's going on in the world, and we've talked about a lot of it, you and I, over the years. But like seeing it, living it, like I said, there's nothing that prepares you for being in an environment where you know that there's a war going on and you're part of it, right? Because I have not experienced that before. But seeing that life continues with a good, feel and a good attitude, and the gratitude is there, and the emotions are there, and people were literally just, we are volunteers, right? So people are coming in and they want more. They want more of that because it just, first, it was fulfilling. Second, it felt good. Like I think it's also, psychologically speaking, it does take you away from thinking about all the doom stuff that's going on around us. It was good feel, but it was really just no. It was sad to see that we were ending that day. Like, for example, the last day it ended. It was sad. Now, of course, they're doing this weekly and going forward, but it's not at the frequency and the magnitude that they did. But frankly, that was just. And by the way, this is something like, so even in the States, when I was in the insurance space, and we had teams, we would do food pantries and soup kitchens and things like that. Similar concept, and that feeling is always that when you give into the community and coat drives and whatever. The more you do like some good stuff in this world, the better it feels. I mean, even doing this, to me, like, it's always been a great thing that I felt. I feel gratitude for people that actually have been assisting and helping in this mission to bring these messages to the world. But frankly, it is humbling to see that we can do a lot of good stuff. Yes, there are powers that just choose to do the bad and the worst scenarios that we can imagine. But I think there's more of us that don't do that. They want the peace, they want the better life, they want the easy stuff, they want to be grateful, they want to be giving, and so on and so forth. So it's a message of hope. I think that's what it is. But I think the more we think about it, the more it's going to help us kind of live through things. And listen, life will go on again and again and again. These things will go. One day we'll be like, oh, it's just past. I mean, we've had wars before. We've had a lot of crazy stuff. And eventually it's just in the history books or in the memories, right? So we make the best memories that we can now. And that's, I think, how we should be, look at it. Now, again, that's just my little humble, small opinion. I'm not
Oh,
an
yeah.
expert.
But embedded in your humble, small opinion, Hurricane, is another technique to overcome fear and anger, because it's very hard to keep feeling fearful when you find somebody to help and just say, what can I do for you? It's also hard to keep feeling angry when you find somebody to help and say, what can I do for you? Because when you help somebody else, what you're doing is you're bringing forth in yourself that goodness that all of human kind have, the empathy and the compassion, and concentrating on that. And because of that, you will naturally concentrate on the present moment. So you'll be using the knack, and you'll also be cultivating gratitude in the other person, but also gratitude in yourself for the privilege of helping somebody else. So just by doing that and being part of something that does some organization that does some good in the world, you get to overcome fear and anger in yourself as well.
And doctor, thank you, because we hear stories, we've seen things in times of crazy and turmoil. You see people that come out like heroes, and I'm not By the way, this is not about me or us here, but I've seen it like real life. Like, you see someone that has nothing to do with something, and then all of a sudden they come up, they rise to the occasion, and they literally save somebody, help someone, do something totally selfish, behavior, but that comes out because it's amazing what we have. We're capable of a lot more than we think we are as humans, in a positive light and a positive way. And I think we just have to bring it up. So thank you, Doug, for highlighting that. But that's the best way to do it, folks. I mean, that's just how I try to do it day in day out. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm still going to improve myself personally, but again, this is for everyone watching and listening. If you can do something about it and make a difference, you can. And just this is a good time to do it. Any time is good to do it, and in
Yeah.
these times is even better.
Yeah, it is. In fact, this becomes a balance for all those negative news stories that are out there. So, for every negative news story that you hear, let's say a missile has hit somewhere and injured a whole lot of people. Imagine the good news behind that. Somebody has saved somebody's life. Somebody is mobilizing forces to help people in need. Somebody is trying to do something to stop the war. Somebody is seeing somebody to make sure that their psychological state is okay afterwards. Behind every bad news story, if you like, there's the opportunity for a whole lot of good to be done, and it does get done. It's just that it doesn't make the newspapers, Hurricane.
Well, again, that's okay. We're here to make that difference. We're a different type of media, so we bring this hopefully to people. So
Yeah,
we
talk
just
about a different kind of media. I just showed my age there. Who reads newspapers, Hurricane? Right? It's actually all up
oh,
there on social media somewhere, right?
hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with tradition, right? I mean, newspapers still have a value. Actually, believe it or not, even studies are finding this is just as a side, note. Reading physical books as opposed to digital books is good for your eyesight and for your memory and for other things. So I think reading a paper. There are people that actually still buy the papers and read them the traditional way, and it makes sense. So to each his own, right? Now, obviously, we live in the new media. This is new media concept. But Doc, you said something that took me back to a movie that was in the 90s with Bruce Willis. That was The Fifth Element. And in that, there's a scene where he's buying this food from this guy, in this flying restaurant, out of his window, and the guy is giving him like there's a message that comes in. And he's like, "Oh, open it up, where you get a free meal. Like you get good news." And then it was bad news. He says, "Okay, well, at least I got a free meal out of this." It's like good philosophy. He said, seeing bad, seeing good and bad. I mean, and that's really what it is. I mean, believe it or not, that little moment of laughter in that scene has stuck with me. Always, like you can see the positive in every situation, and there's always positive in every situation. Now, doctor, you're in the psychiatry, and psychological world, right? A lot of people that actually need help typically are having a tough time, right? I mean, by the way, we all need help. I think we all need some sort of a level of psychology, treatment and help. And because we're just too much stuff going on. I mean, we're like bombarded day in, day out. But really, bad circumstances are what triggers a lot of the mental state of all of us, right? There's always bad triggers, whether through our childhood, abuse, you name it, bullying, all these things, the media, all the stuff, the circumstances around us, even the finances can help us be in a bad place, right? But there is something that emerges out of that, is that we can all do good at the same time and see it. And I think, doctor, that's the work you do, is you take people from a bad place into a good place and change their mind to want to live. I mean, we just added another show to the network, the Survivors podcast. And again, kudos to their work and Lisa Sugarman and her team. It's a great thing about suicide and how it can convert someone from the ideology of like being suicidal to living and wanting to live and be happy about life. So this is the stuff that can make a difference. So bad stuff can turn into good stuff if we treat it right and if we do the right thing about it. I mean, am I getting that picture right? And I know we're getting to the end of the show, but this is a big deal.
It is a big deal. And just for the context of how big a deal it actually is this is a big shift that psychiatry has made in the last 30 years. Seeing psychiatric illness as genetic, seeing psychiatric illness as something that you're born with. And over the last 30 years in particular, but we've actually been working on this for a whole century, we've seen that psychiatric illness comes mainly from adverse events, from things that happen that we call traumatic, or things that happen particularly in people's childhood when they're young. So what we call adverse child events. And what we find is that mental illness is not, it's not an illness like other illnesses of the body, right? Because what it is, it's a reaction to something that went wrong. So in psychiatry, the way we put it is that instead of asking somebody, what's wrong with you? The question in psychiatry is now, what happened to you? Because more and more we're starting to realize that mental illness is actually a normal reaction to human beings being in an abnormal world. But as you rightly pointed out, Hurricane, this gives the opportunity for us to dig a little bit deeper, find that part of us that has the empathy, the compassion, and the wisdom to help each other get on the right track, because the right track is actually the healthy track. Trauma is not what's supposed to happen. It does, but it's not supposed to. What's supposed to happen is that we do have a spirit that reaches for, strives for a thriving, growing life of meaning and purpose.
Thank you, Doc. I'm laughing because as you said something there, just made me laugh about an idea that it felt like it almost sounded like we developed an allergy to life.
Well, that's close enough. That's close enough. Yeah.
Like allergy to everything. Like when you have a reactive, feeling on anything like that you're allergic to with things, on your skin, in your body, whatever, food, allergies, skin allergies, whatever. Whether this is exactly it. We're allergic to events, to things that are actually around us, and basically we just kind of react to it. So it's funny you said that. I'm like, we just have to get out some sort of antihistamine for the mental state, of things, which will be in this case, getting the right help, the assistance, and the tools, that like, for example, Dr. Heim has been sharing with us. So, Doctor, I mean, again, it's the hour, the end of it. It's like we can go for hours, and know your time is valuable, and we're gonna keep, doing this, on and on, month to month. I do believe that, because of the time frame, we might have a shift in the time, at least, so we'll have. I think we'll confirm that, but we might go to Mondays, in the UAE and Australia, and then it will be Fridays, replays, and or even live, depends on the time. Because we want to make sure that we have these shows. But also, this is evergreen. It will replay, pretty much everywhere that we stream, on the iHealthRadio. So download the iHealthRadio and listen to this, or you can go to Spotify or any of the other platforms where you get just your podcast, and you'll be able to listen to the show over and over. Take it, share it, and of course participate. Please do send us, questions, and that's about it, folks. I mean, this is pretty good, insights from one of the best in the world in this particular area of expertise. Doctor, as always, a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be with you, and to really just get the energy. This is energy, and it keeps me going.
It is energy, and it keeps us going. And this is the sort of energy that keeps the whole world going, because we're talking, we're smiling, we're laughing a little bit. Now, we both know that the world's going through a hard time, and that we're personally going through a hard time, but it's the interaction. So rather than taking an antihistamine or an antibiotic, what we need is the smiles, the eye contact, and the conversations to sort of say, yeah, let's hang in there. Let's do it together. And together we can, because together we're stronger.
Ooh, that's it. I'm not going to say anything else to add to that other than, folks, thank you so much for being with us today. Hope you enjoyed this particular show as always, and stay tuned for the next one next month. And let's take the advice to the road, on the road, and make it happen, folks. Dr. Heim, thank you always. A pleasure again, and we'll be talking soon next month. That's it for now, and that's the end of our show. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Hurricane.